What happens when a romantic fantasy runs headfirst into class, money, and cultural power? This film sells itself as a lush Hollywood love story. However, beneath the surface, it negotiates uncomfortable truths about desire, control, and misunderstandings that most movies of this era prefer not to touch. So let's start at the beginning. Hello to all the classic people who are returning. I'm glad you're back. I want to welcome any new visitors and let you know that there will be spoilers ahead. Today on Classic Movie Review, we are taking on The World of Suzie Wong, 1960. This film has a 6.9 rating on imdb.com. On RottenTomatoes.com, the film has an abysmal 33% on the tomato meter and only 68% on the audience score. I was shocked by these ratings. Cranky old New York Times film critic Bosley Carruthers said in a November 11th, 1960 review, quote, "For here in this wildly romantic, vividly imagined color film, there is packaged a glowing-esque commercial for love conquering everything, including the taint of prostitution that these old eyes have ever seen. Mr. Patrick's screenplay contrives such a winning yum-yum girl that even if she is invented, she's a charming little thing to have around. Her habit of making up stories, of telling lies about herself, and then exploding with bursts of shocking candor is amusing for goodness sake." Unquote. So I think what makes this movie good is Nancy Kwan in her first film role. She's light and bubbly and seems like someone who would be fun to hang around. I mean, other than her job. Actors. One of my absolute favorites, William Holden, played the lead role of would-be artist Robert Lomax. Naturally, I favor his performances in the film noir Sunset Boulevard 1950 and Stalag 17 1953, where his trademark cynicism is on full display. Holden was amazing as the forlorn fighter pilot in The Bridges of Tokari 1954. He again showed this side to the public in John Ford's The Horse Soldiers 1959. Across these films, Holden projects a calm authority mixed with doubt, making him one of the most believable and influential leading men in the classic era. Nancy Kwan played the title role of Suzie Wong. A fortunate twist led to her being cast in her first film role in The World of Suzie Wong 1960. France Young was cast in the role, but was removed for either weight gain, pregnancy, or depression. It's not really clear. Nancy trained as a ballet dancer. She never intended to become an actor. Kwan later appeared in Flower Drum Song 1961, a culturally significant film. I've covered her previously in Fate is the Hunter 1964, story of an airplane crash. There's a link in the description. There are two other movies I'd like to mention. The first is a comedy, Lieutenant Robinson Crusoe, U.S. Navy, 1966, where Kwan was the leader of an island tribe. I've said it before, and I'll say it again, but I don't have any idea why Dick Van Dyke, as Crusoe, would try so hard to escape that island. The second movie is The Wrecking Crew, 1968, which as far as I can tell is the movie that Sharon Tate, Margot Robbie, watched in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, 2019. Lawrence Naismith played the role of banker Mr. O'Neill. Naismith was first covered in the role as the Doctor in Village of the Damned 1960, and there's a link in the description. I look forward to covering him again in his role as Argo in Jason and the Argonauts 1963. Sylvia Sims plays Mr. O'Neill's daughter and secretary, Kay O'Neill, who becomes immediately romantically interested in Robert Lomax. Sims was born in England in 1934. She had a long career with 130 film and television credits. She made her stage debut in 1954 and was later cast in Teenage Bad Girls 1956. That movie sounds great. Some of her standout performances include Woman in a Dressing Gown 1957, Today's Film, The World of Suzie Wong 1960, Victim 1961, What a Girl Wants 2003, and as the Queen Mother in The Queen 2006. Sims died in 2023. Story. The film begins with American Robert Lomax, William Holden, arriving in Hong Kong. He rides the crowded ferry across the bay. He sketches an old man on his drawing pad before his attention is drawn to a pair of women and a baby. When he tries to talk to the woman, she sternly rebuffs him, saying she is a wealthy and a proper girl. She even tries to have him arrested. At the end of their conversation, the young woman shows some interest before disappearing into the crowd. All he has is her name, Mai Ling. On land, Lomax explains to a policeman that he is looking to live in a slum district to save money. The cop, has trouble understanding why an Anglo would expose himself to the dregs of humanity. Lomax wanders through the crowded market, standing out like a sore thumb. At last, he finds a dingy hotel. He sees the woman from the ferry, Mai Ling, leaving in a rickshaw, but he can't catch her eye. Inside, he asks about Mai Ling, but the owner has no information. He winds up renting a room for $50 a month. It has some nice views, and Lomax tells the owner he is a painter and that the roof view will be perfect for his work. After a bit, sailors start coming by looking for Minnie Ho, Yovan Shima. He sees other ladies entertaining and starts to catch a clue about where he is living. Girls flirt with sailors throughout the hotel. The hotel has a bar attached, so that's convenient. All the working women are wearing brightly colored Jim Sam dresses. Lomax goes in for a beer and watches the activities. He can't resist pulling out his sketchbook. He is soon joined by the bespectacled and homely Winnie Lee, Jacqueline Chan. She knits while they talk, and he draws her picture. Winnie Lee reads a letter from a man she had met earlier. Suddenly wearing a bright red Jong Sam, the woman purported to be Mai Ling comes down the stairs. She immediately goes to a sailor at the bar. She says she has never met Lomax and her name is Suzie Wong. Winnie Lee says Suzie is her best friend and the most popular girl in the bar.
You see the girl sitting over there at the bar, the one with the red dress?
Yes, Suzie Wong. She my best friend. Most popular girl in bar. She got sex appeal.
Lomax ponders the drawing of Mai Ling. Finally, Suzie comes to Lomax to talk. She laughs about lying to him. She asks if she can be his girlfriend for the month. He politely declines. The next day, Lomax takes a rickshaw to a bank where he meets Mr. O'Neill, Lawrence Naismith. He opens an account and says he is an architect on a year-long sabbatical trying to make it as an artist. He's introduced to O'Neill's secretary/daughter, Kay, Sylvia Sims. O'Neill gives him an introduction letter, which will get him admitted to the club. Back at the hotel, the bar is hopping. Suzie sits with an Englishman named Ben Marlowe, Michael Wilding. Right off the bat, Ben complains about how his wife treats him. Winnie Lee intercepts Lomax outside as she needs an escort into the bar. Suzie dances with a sailor, and Kwan really shows off her background as a professional dancer. Lomax is fascinated, but Ben is entranced. Later that night, Lomax asks the hotel operator to send Suzie to his room. There's a big stir among the girls as they had all wondered when the month-long guest would choose a companion. Suzie doesn't take it well that Lomax only wants to use her as a model. She says she will lose face among her peers. But she finally agrees to model.
Okay, I pose for you.
Good. Over here.
Take clothes off.
No, I've never tried nudes.
Good time to try.
At the end of the modeling session, a drunk Ben arrives looking for Suzie. He then passes out on Lomax's bed. Lomax takes Suzie to a swanky restaurant and uses O'Neill's introduction letter to get seated. Suzie can't read, but Lomax defends her from the waiter. Suzie says she has been in the business since she was 10 years old. Suzie and Lomax run into O'Neill and Kay in the restaurant. Kay sets up a dinner with Lomax.
She virgin?
Well, if you'll wait a minute, I'll ask.
Never mind. You'll find out.
After they've finished eating, Suzie makes an excuse to go back to Lomax's room. She wants to be his permanent girlfriend. She says she feels something for Lomax. They are about to kiss, but are interrupted by a sailor knocking on the door. Over time, Lomax continues to paint Suzie, and she becomes his muse. Like Terpsichore, Olivia Newton-John, was to Sonny Malone, Michael Beck, in Xanadu 1980, and similar to how Rusty Parker, Maribel Hicks, Rita Hayworth, was to Danny Maguire, Gene Kelly, in CoverGirl 1944. It is possible that part of Xanadu 1980 is a tribute or throwback to CoverGirl 1944. Later, Suzie works outside the bar until she locates a senior British sailor. Suzie tells her gang that she is working as Lomax's full-time girlfriend. When she gets to his room, Suzie is not happy that Lomax is going to dinner with Kay. Suzie says she will wait in the room until Lomax returns. Lomax and Kay are at a fancy dinner party with a large group. Max is there with his wife, and he recognizes Lomax from somewhere, but he can't place it. Max finally recalls where he knows Lomax from. In general, the English people are very racist towards the Chinese. However, O'Neill is much more liberal, saying his sister married a Chinese doctor and they are living quite well in England. Meanwhile, Suzie brings her posse to Lomax's room to show off the possessions of her supposed full-time boyfriend. The girls are thrilled by the paintings of Suzie, Winnie Lee, and Minnie Ho. Susie thrills the gang more with Lomax's wealth. She orders room service tea and rice cake for her friends.
Oh, you better take shirt off, Susie. Maybe he not like.
He catch you, he beat you.
Poof! He say to me, Susie, I'm crazy mad about you. You do anything you want, for goodness sake.
When they are alone, Kay tells Lomax that her father doesn't have a sister and he simply dislikes pompous people. Lomax tells her that he only has enough money to see if he can make it as an artist. Kay wants to see Lomax's paintings, so she drives him back to the Dive Hotel. Susie is asleep on the bed. Susie gigs Kay pretty hard, and the English girl leaves, being slightly angry and embarrassed.
Susie, what are you doing here?
You told me to wait.
I told you not to wait. Susie's my model, you see.
Does she just wait around until the mood strikes you?
I'll get you pajamas. You want tops or bottoms tonight?
Susie makes another play for Lomax, but he rejects her. She meets the senior sailor in the stairwell. He beats her when she rejects his advances. The beaten Susie goes to Lomax's room. He confronts the sailor in the lobby and knocks the man into the street. Lomax takes Susie back to his room and cares for her wounds. Lomax wants to help her, but he doesn't really know how. Susie wants to tell her girlfriends that Lomax was the one who beat her. She tells that tale and says Lomax hit her because he was in love with her. Later, Lomax takes Susie to the docks to draw traditional images of her. She takes him to a part of town where she knows everyone. They take a small junk across the harbor. It brings to mind the art of fighting without fighting in Enter the Dragon 1973. They arrive at a seafood restaurant where you pick your fish at the catch point. Inside, Kay and Ben are having lunch. Of course, Ben is complaining to Kay about his wife. Kay invites Susie and Lomax to join them. Ben is awkward around Susie. Kay still wants to see Lomax's paintings, and Susie asks Ben to take her home. In the lobby, Minnie Ho is shocked to see Lomax with Kay instead of Susie. Kay is struck by the quality of Lomax's painting. She says she will get help from an art dealer friend. Lomax is looking for Susie because she hasn't shown up in a couple of days. Minnie Ho hugs Lomax because he exchanged some money for her. Susie shows up and attacks Minnie Ho. Lomax takes Susie to his room to continue modeling. Ben calls and is coming to see Susie. Lomax again refuses to let her be his full-time girlfriend.
Why you not let me be your permanent girlfriend?
Oh, stop it, Susie. We've been all through that. I don't mean to hurt your feelings, but I can't accept your way of life. I can't have you giving me your love on the days that you're free.
Ben wants to visit Susie. He has left his wife and wants Susie to be his full-time girlfriend. Susie goads Lomax and says he doesn't want her. Some time passes, and Susie comes to model for Lomax, but mostly she wants to taunt him. Lomax says Ben will not get divorced. He also refuses to become jealous. Lomax begins working with Kay as a model. Susie walks in on Lomax giving Kay a neck rub. Embarrassed, Kay leaves. Susie is wearing European clothing, and Lomax thinks she looks cheap. He rips the outfit off of her and throws it in the street. Susie breaks down crying. Sometime later, Lomax is invited to the club by Max. Max says that he is going back to his wife and needs to break up with Susie. He wants Lomax to deliver the news to Susie. Max never intended to be serious with Susie. Lomax asks Susie to his apartment to deliver the news. Susie continues to lie about her relationship with Ben. Lomax delivers the news. She is crushed because she thought Ben was her way out of this life. Lomax begs her not to go away. He says they will work it out. She refuses his offer, thinking it was done out of pity, but she quickly returns. As a couple, Lomax enters his greatest artistic period. Susie introduces him to more Chinese culture. Lomax questions Susie about the time she disappeared. He's not jealous, he is simply curious. He gives her a crown and a fine silk outfit to wear. It starts to rain while Susie is dressing. The outfit looks very similar to the outfit Gracie Law, Kim Cattrall wore in Big Trouble in Little China in 1986 for her forced wedding with David Lopan, James Hong. In the morning, Susie heads out. Lomax is concerned. He tries to follow her through the crowded streets. She travels uphill to a place where houses are perched on the mountainside. Finally, he follows her into a small house where he finds Susie with her very fat baby. Lomax wants to know why she didn't tell him about her baby. Lomax is tender with Susie and holds the baby. She asks to be beaten up. They spend time together like a young couple with a baby who are deeply in love. Susie goes to get her fortune told. She translates the fortune teller as saying that Susie will go to America after the monsoon rain.
One day, it started raining. and it didn't quit for 4 months. We've been through every kind of rain there is. It even rained at night.
Lomax shifts to painting Susie with the baby. They don't sell. Kay offers to advance Lomax funds, but he refuses to help, having not heard what happened to the first bunch of paintings Kay sent to London. Susie tries to give Lomax money as well, and he does accept it from her. Kay tells her father that Lomax is coming in for a loan. She says giving him the money will help her matrimonial prospects.
He's the only man in my life I've ever wanted. If I have to get him the way she did, I'll do it.
He actually wants help finding a job. O'Neill says he will help. Susie wants to help Lomax stay an artist. She offers to go back to work to support him. He insults her and she runs off. Susie doesn't return, and Lomax finally goes up the hill to look for her. She is moved. Lomax wanders the streets looking for Susie as the monsoon season begins. He trusts the police and hangs out at the ferry where they first met. He cruises the flower boat district looking for her. The boats were explained by Mother Jinsling, Ona Munson, in the Shanghai Gesture 1941. Gwynnie Lee tries to find her too, but no one knows her whereabouts. Finally, Lomax comes back to his room. Kay is waiting to tell him that one of his paintings has been sold in London. She can't believe that Lomax is in love with Susie. He puts himself in her desperate state and wonders what he would have done in her place. Kay still doesn't give up on Lomax and invites him to dinner. Kay tells her father she's in love with Lomax and asks her father to help him. When Lomax arrives, he notes that the streets are flooding from the monsoons. O'Neill says he couldn't hire a man who was married to a former prostitute. Lomax leaves. As he sits at a street stand, eating, he sees ambulances heading up the hill. Susie is waiting outside the hotel. She says the hill is slipping and she can't reach her baby. The two head into the disaster area. Susie breaks through the line and heads up the hill. Lomax follows her. They are too late. The baby has been killed. Lomax takes the broken Susie back down the hill. Later, Susie and her friends hold a burial ceremony for the baby. Lomax stands behind and watches. The girls are burning gifts for the baby to have in the afterlife, such as a rickshaw so he won't have to walk, and books so he'll be well educated. Susie asks that Lomax write a letter of introduction for the baby. Lomax adds the letter to the fire. He proposes to Susie, and she says she will stay until he sends her away. They walk away together. Conclusion. First off, that's the worst time and place for a proposal. Secondly, why did they have to sacrifice the baby in the story so the couple could be together? It had been a long time since I had seen this film, and it wasn't quite as good as I remembered. However, it is beautifully shot and shows many cultures and places that no longer exist. It's definitely worth a watch. Richard Mason wrote the book, The World of Suzie Wong, published in 1957. It was turned into a Broadway play in 1958. The play starred France Nguyen as Suzie Wong and our favorite captain, William Shatner, as Robert Lomax. France Nguyen was cast in the film, but was later removed from the role. World famous short summary: if loving you is wrong, I don't want to be right. Thank you for taking the time to listen. If you enjoyed the show and want more, please give me a like, subscribe, or comment. It really helps the show get found. You can also support the show by using any of the affiliate links in the description. Beware the Moors. Okay, there'll be a couple of boxes pop up here. One is another movie review that I recommend. The other is a playlist of similar reviews.